Okay, we'll do this one. I think this is a call for an uprising, talking about, like, a potential COVID vaccine.
You've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was? Then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the
Oh, no, I'm good. Thanks.
Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. You've got to see this article posted by the USA Today, right? USA Today, which was posted today about the upcoming shot, the vax that is going to come out, and how the headline says, get a load of this. This is USA Today. People go to this like it's a main source of news.
I mean, it is. It doesn't have to be for you, but it's USA Today. It's one of the most, like, known newspapers on the planet.
Just as much as people go to CNN, which tells you how bad and fake the news is, but
Having viewers and readership means your news site is fake, and the more viewers you have, the faker it becomes.
this is one of the most common, if not the most common newspaper delivered in the United States of America that people still, well, newspapers are kind of obsolete now, but sources that people go to for news information. The headline is, defeat the C-19 by requiring the vax for all.
Have you not heard about USA Today, really? That's shocking to me.
It's not un-American, it's patriotic. Come again? This, according to the writer of this article, he says, make the vax free, don't allow religious or personal objections, and punish those who refuse to get the shot.
I can get on board with that. A fine or something. Like, if you want to not get a vaccine, I guess that's for you, but, like, there are consequences for your actions, and if you refuse to help society by getting a shot and choosing to endanger other people around you, then yeah, fuck you. Maybe there's consequences. Like, that's life. Deal with it.
They are threatening the lives of others. This is the type of propaganda you're going to continue to see come out. Like I've said from the get-go, all of us.
If a vaccine is developed, I doubt it'll be mandatory, but wouldn't that be great? That'd be amazing.
Who've talked about this for years, including you, the listener, for years, how they're going to make us villains, villainize us.
You are villains because you're endangering other people with your selfishness and conspiracy nonsense. You're a bad guy. I think the term villain is a little melodramatic and doesn't really reflect how life works, but you are a jerk. You're a selfish monster, and you're certainly endangering the lives of other people. If you feel bad about that, good. You should feel bad. Shame on you.
And now with this clever twist they've tied into this bogus outbreak, the twist is that, even if you don't have it, you can give it to someone else.
Correct. Do you not understand that with diseases, you can be a carrier for certain diseases while not showing any symptoms yourself? This is not something that's new to coronavirus. That's something that happens with all sorts of diseases. Like, just because you don't have medical knowledge doesn't mean that you learned something new means that it didn't exist before you learned it, right? This is not a new phenomenon.
So that way they make everyone think, well, every single person, not just people who have it, have to get it, right? And that's the clever BS twist they put into it and then labeled it as science. Well, I'll put it to you this way. They want to say that it's patriotic, and they want to say that...
I don't care about patriotism. I do not care about patriotism even a little bit. What I do care about is endangering the lives of people around you, because they are human beings. So if we need to require people to get a vaccine in order to keep people safe, fine. I don't care how stupid and conspiratorial you're gonna get with it. You're gonna have punishments for not doing it. And again, I doubt this is gonna happen, especially with Trump in office. but, like, it would be great if it did. Honestly, I'm all for punishing people who, like, don't vaccinate their kids.
We're threatening the lives of others. If anyone ever comes near me and tries to stick a needle or a vax in me, they better be ready for a crescent kick to the crotch, because that's what they're going to get in return.
No one's going to come up to you in the street and try and vaccinate you. But you might have punishments if you don't get it. It would probably be a fine. Probably like a $500 fine or something. That sounds reasonable to me.
And instead of talking about saving lives, like banning Planned Parenthood, instead they talk about nonsense like this.
Because that doesn't save lives, it just prevents abortions, and abortions aren't murder, so...
Where the statistics like this in the first sentence, listen, to win the war against the outbreak that has now taken 158,000 people in this...
More than that now. Let's take a look. We're up to 172,000 deaths in the United States. USA! USA! USA!
Country, the only answer is mandating the vax for all of us. And while the measures will be necessary to defeat the outbreak, might seem even un-American to some, we believe that there is no alternative. Simply put, getting the shot is going to be your patriotic duty. I mean, just look at this mind control. Your patriotic duty in a country where the word patriotic doesn't even mean anything anymore, because they're burning flags, throwing statues over, which I don't care about anyway, because I don't worship a flag. But, I mean, how hypocritical, right?
Imagine if during the London Blitz, when you're doing, you know, the blackouts, if you don't know, during World War II, when there were bombing runs being done on, like, England, done on, London, they had a policy where, like, when it got dark out, you had to turn all the lights off in your house. You had to black out your windows. You had to, like, make sure that no light can be seen from the outside, because it makes it more difficult for the German planes and stuff to find targets, right? Imagine if when that happens, people going, this isn't, you're telling me it's patriotic for me to make my house all dark? I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna turn all my lights on because I can do what I want. This is basically the attitude these people have. It's fucked up.
And they say...
Yes, I'm aware that some people actually didn't want to turn their lights off. I know.
Reason when an effective vax is available, it will not only... It will only defeat the pandemic if it is widely used, creating herd immunity. It's important to note that during an epidemic, there is no threshold above which the protection conferred by herd immunity cannot be improved. Thus, the more people who are given the shot, the lower risk for all of us, including those who are not vaxxed.
Correct.
Let's go back to two things here real quick before I read you these ridiculous bullet points they make, and how they once again attack Christians because they say, oh, well, no, you can't use your religion or anything like that. Who cares? You know, there's nothing in the...
Correct. You can't arbitrarily say that the Bible says you can't get vaccinations, because it doesn't say that. I've read it.
The Bible that says anything about a vax and the mark or anything like that. But two things in this country. What are the two big expressions we always hear? Well, what's the biggest one? When we talk about Planned Parenthood, my body, my choice, right? Sure. They still are screaming at off of rooftops about that.
Right. Because in this case, it's not your body, your choice, because your choice is affecting everyone else around you. That's the difference. That's the difference. You don't get to go around and infect people. If it was, like, absolutely no effect on anyone else, I wouldn't care if you wanted to go out like an idiot, not have a face mask, breathing all over, breathing in germs from other people. And if there was some way to actually make it so only you were at risk, great. All the best. In fact, please don't wear a mask in that case, because I'd love to do a little bit of culling of the dumbest people in our population. But, unfortunately, that's not the case. You're endangering other people, so, no, wear a mask.
But it's not my body, my choice when it comes to me getting this.
Because it's not your body. It's other people's bodies. You're endangering the bodies of other people.
Because it could affect somebody else. Meanwhile, what about the poor child that's inside the womb? Oh, but that doesn't matter, right?
Right. It's not a child, it's a fetus. We can talk about this morally all day. We're on different sides of this. But that's why pro-choice is a thing. Because, and we talked about this in a Dave Rubin video Jake and I recorded, I think yesterday. It's going to be coming out later in the week. But basically, I'm okay if you morally believe abortion is wrong, because it's not a black and white issue. It's more of a philosophical one as to when you think something becomes like a baby, when you think something becomes a human life worthy of, like, whatever, you know? But that's why I believe in pro-choice, right? Because I'm not going to dictate onto other people what I think is right, nor should you do the same in this case, because it's not a black and white issue. So if you don't like abortion and think it's murder, great. Don't get an abortion. But you can't force that onto other people when it's not an objective viewpoint.
And secondly,
why are there so many anti-abortion, pro-life, but also anti-vax that can save children? Oh, I don't know, because they're crazy, because they think vaccinations are, like, secretly the mark of the beast or something. They're out of their minds.
The easiest argument to make is that if you have the shot, then you should be immune. And I don't want to hear this bogus nonsense about how this is different. You can not have it and be a carrier. Huh? That makes perfect sense. That's like...
Yes, I understand that you're not a doctor, and I'm not either, but you should also recognize that there are doctors and virologists out there who understand this, and if they're telling you that, hey, by the way, you can be a carrier for this disease and not have it, which, by the way, isn't even a crazy thing. We've known about this for a long time. Look at Typhoid Mary, right? She went around being a cook to various people, and hers, I think, was the first known case of non-symptomatic typhoid. So she would go around infecting other people, and they would continually catch her and be like, hey, you need to stop working in kitchens. You're killing people. And she killed tons of people. And she never believed them, because like these idiots on the internet, she's like, non-symptomatic typhoid, you're crazy. So she'd, like, change her name, and she'd go to a new town, and she'd get a job as a cook and kill a bunch more people. It eventually got to the point where literally they had to forcibly quarantine her for the rest of her life because she refused. She refused to stop becoming a cook and killing people. So we're in a similar situation, but with literally thousands and thousands of Typhoid Marys who just think that they're the bee's knees and that they couldn't do anything wrong. They're the good guy in their story, so clearly the doctors have to be lying, otherwise that would make them the assholes. Sorry guys, you're the assholes.
It's saying you can have AIDS and not have AIDS, and give someone else AIDS even though you aren't positive for AIDS. What?
What? You can have HIV and then give it to someone else, and then they have HIV, which can turn into AIDS. What are you talking about? I don't know if there's people who have non-symptomatic HIV. It's possible. I don't know that, though. But if there is, then that means that there's medical evidence to that effect, right? Doctors aren't just making things up for funsies.
HIV. What? And people just go, oh, well, it's science. You don't understand science, Call. Yeah, I don't understand science, but you know what I understand? Bullshit. Art. It says, there is no alternative to the vax-induced herd immunity in a pandemic. Relying on enough people becoming infected and then immune is dangerous, as exemplified by the Swedish experience, where the C-19 mortality rate exceeds that of its more cautious neighbors. Broad induction of immunity in the population by taking this shot will be necessary to end the pandemic. And they said, this is what America must do when the vax is ready. Make them free and easily accessible to everyone. Exempt only those with medical contradictions to receiving the
medical conditions, not contradictions. I didn't even read the article, and I can tell you that's what it said.
shot. It is likely that more than one vax platform will prove effective as was the case for polio. And as a result, medical conditions that prohibit all C19 vax will be rare anyway, so people will be getting the shot no matter what, because they won't be able to use it as an excuse. They say do not honor religious objections, that the major religions do not officially oppose the shot.
They don't. They really, really don't. There's nothing in the Bible that says anything about vaccinations, or viruses for that matter, because people who wrote the Bible didn't know about viruses. So if you say, oh, well, the Revelations vaguely says something about the mark of the beast, and you're like, well, I think the mark of the beast means vaccines. No, that's your own really stupid interpretation. It doesn't actually say that. That's not a religious exemption. That's you trying to look for excuses to not get a vaccination. And hey, at the end of the day, no, people wouldn't get imprisoned for something like this. But yeah, get a $500 fine for endangering others with your own stubborn idiocy? Sure, fine.
Do not allow objections for personal preference, which violate the social contract. Huh? They said, how can government and society assure compliance with protective shots? The vax refusers, like me and you, ready, could lose tax credits or be denied non-essential government benefits.
Good.
Health insurers could levy higher premiums for those of us who refuse to get the shot. Good.
Same thing as people who smoke or drink heavily. Your premiums go up in those cases because you're engaging in activities, because you're engaging in activities that make you higher risk for sickness preventably. So of course your insurance, which is basically a bet with your insurance company, right? When you buy insurance and it's a for-profit insurance, every month you're putting money down and you're saying to your insurance company, I bet you I get sick. And they're going, we bet you don't. And then if you get sick, of course, ideally your insurance will pay out. But usually people aren't sick constantly or whatever, so they make money on the whole because they're doing this with a lot of people. So like a bookie who adjusts the betting odds and costs to buy into certain bets, if you engage in incredibly risky behavior that makes it more likely that you're going to get sick, then your insurance premiums go up, because the odds have gone up that you're going to get sick. That's basic. That's just how insurance works.
And
for-profit insurance, I should say.
And as is the case for people who are smokers. Well, how about this? How about we just don't pay the premium? How about, oh, you're going to give us tax credits and, going to raise our taxes and things like that? Then how about we don't pay them?
Don't pay your taxes or don't pay your insurance premium? Because if it's the insurance premium, then fine, you'll just won't have insurance, and that's going to be worse for you. Or if you don't pay your taxes, then you're going to go to jail, and that's also not good for you. Again, I think these people have a problem with understanding their actions have consequences. You can do whatever you want, but there are consequences for your actions.
That sounds good to me. You try to force a chemical in my body? My ass.
Your body is already chemicals. I don't know if you know this. Your body is all chemicals. You're made of chemicals. Everything is chemicals. The Coke Zero in this bottle is chemicals. The bottle itself is chemicals. The hand that's holding it's made of chemicals and other materials that are chemical in nature. Like, what do you think chemicals are?
Private businesses could refuse to employ or serve people who aren't vaxxed. Schools should refuse to allow children who aren't vaxxed to attend classes. Public and commercial transit companies, airlines, trains, and buses could exclude refusers. Public and private auditoriums could require evidence that you've gotten the shot for entry. This is all stuff I've said months and months and months ago when this all started, that this is what it was going to lead to. And I'm not saying that because I'm not saying, oh, I'm a prophet or I predicted it, because it was all the writing was on the wall that this is what it was going to come to force people. They're going to smoke everyone out and squeeze them so that they give in and get it. And those of us who
yes, that's the entire purpose. If this happened and businesses started forcing people to have like something on them that says, hey, I got the vaccination, to let them into like a movie theater or a restaurant or whatever, good. That would make me, as someone who wants to go out to the movies or go out to dinner, much more comfortable doing so. If when the vaccination is released, assuming it is, there's no way to know if it will or not, but if that happens, I'd still be concerned, even if I got it, that are all the people in this restaurant vaccinated? Are there some people in here who didn't, and now they're, like, helping mutate a new version of the virus I'm not going to have the antibodies for? So it would actually be really nice if their restaurants were like, okay, you can come in, but you got to show us documentation that you got the vaccine or whatever. That would be good. And I'm sorry that there's consequences for your actions. Welcome to adulthood. That's how life works.
Curfews aren't going to have the same rights as everybody else. We're not going to be allowed to travel. We're not going to be allowed to go anywhere.
You already have to have a number of vaccinations before you can go to any public school. Most places have exemptions for either religious purposes, which a lot of anti-vaxxers will use as an excuse even if they don't have a religious objection and it's just some stupid anti-vax, anti-science objection. And some places just have general exemptions where you just have to sign a paper saying that you don't want your kid to get vaccinated. So I wish they were stricter, let me put it that way, in terms of letting kids into schools without vaccines.
We're going to be, in prison like we are now. The article says the only legal limitation on government or private action is that it not be discriminatory, and it's hard to see how discrimination would occur if the shot were free and accessible to all. Then it goes on to support certification cards. A registry of immunization will be needed with names entered after the shot is taken and completed. Adequate immunization may require more than a single vax, and the durability of protection by different vaxes may vary and may not be.
Daddy Sumo with 10 bits had a guy come into work today with a note saying he didn't have to wear a mask. We asked him why he didn't use the drive-thru if he couldn't wear a mask. His response was, "There's a line out there." Yeah, these people are stupid. The Americans with Disabilities Act, which a lot of these anti-mask idiots quote or whatever when they talk about this stuff, doesn't say that you have to let them in the store. All it says is that you have to accommodate them. So if someone comes into the store and they're like, I can't wear a mask, I have yada 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 thing, even if it's clear they don't, at the end of the day, you're not going to win that fight. So just say, that's fine. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, we have to accommodate you, but the way we're going to accommodate you is you stay outside and we will get whatever you want. But you need to get out of this building. And if they don't agree, then call the cops if it's the policy of your store that people can't come in without a mask.
Lifelong, requiring you to get periodic booster shots. So in other words, your card is only going to last 6 months until you go back and get it again. Otherwise, you get to go back into living in solitude and into...
Yes, because the booster shot's going to help keep your antibodies up to date so that your vaccine is still effective. Otherwise, it's just going to not work over time.
You're a prison and you're losing.
Thrash Mio with 25 bits to preemptively counter the argument, if you don't want to get the vaccine, don't make me get it. Not all people can get or make use of the vaccines. Yeah, that's why herd immunity is so important, because there are, unfortunately, people in the country, all over the world, who, for one reason or another, medically can't get certain vaccines, right? They rely on that herd immunity to keep them safe because they have either an allergic reaction to something in the vaccine or something else that I'm unaware of that just causes them to have an adverse reaction. Either way, they rely on herd immunity, which is why it's so important to recognize that you are a member of a society and to act as such. You have rights, but you also have responsibilities, right? And if you accept all your rights, but reject all of your responsibilities, then why should anyone care about your rights? You don't care about them, right? Just interesting.
Losing your job and not being able to travel. So they can force this thing on you as many times as they
We live in a society. Yes, unironically, yes. I know that's a meme, but like, yep, we do.
Deem fit. The person who wrote this article not only should be ashamed of themselves, but should be looked for by citizens of this country. You should contact the USA Today by citizens who should be ashamed of themselves, but should be looked for. Article not only should be ashamed of themselves.
I'm gonna report this for trying to tell people to go find the writer of this article and hurt them. calling for people to go and find the author of an article clearly calling for violence against them. That's at 9 minutes 3 seconds. If you would also like to report this idiot who is threatening a reporter. 9 minutes 3 seconds, and here's a link in the chat. Go report it if you'd like.
But should be looked for by citizens of this country. You should contact the USA Today and demand that Dr. Michael Letterman, what's he a doctor of?
Let's find out, shall we? Dr. Michael, was it Letterman? Dr. Michael Letterman. He's a doctor. He has a doctorate in pathology. What does he have a doctorate in? Pathology? You know, like the study of, you know, diseases, infectious diseases, the thing that we're talking about. Jesus Christ. These people are stupid.
Maxwell J. Mellman and Dr. Stuart Younger, the ones who wrote this piece.
Hans has not been banned yet, no.
Oh, yes, they're real doctors.
I don't know if YouTube... I don't know if there's a certain threshold at which point the amount of reports you give, YouTube will just throw your reports in the trash. But I report a decent amount of videos for this kind of shit. So it's entirely possible when I report a video, YouTube just goes, like, their algorithm, of course a real person isn't looking at it. I don't know if their algorithm just goes like, oh boy, this person again? Ignore. Do not ban Hans. Nah, fuck Hans. Hans deserves to get banned.
Of depopulation, that's about it. You can see the old farts in the video below. Look, Grandpa, party's over for you, but not for us. So you can take the shot, and you can try to use propaganda on the people, but the people are waking up because they can see that there's nothing going on, that the statistics are bogus, that there's more people passing from literally every single thing you could possibly imagine. At this point, I think more people are getting struck by lightning than getting this.
No. COVID-19. Oops. Whoopsie. COVID-18. COVID-19 cases, U.S. Let's see. Oh, God. New cases. 39,000 yesterday. 42,000 the day before, 55,000 the day before that. So do you think upwards of 50,000 people are getting struck by lightning every day in the United States? The answer is no. I think like a couple people a year get struck by lightning. How many people are struck by lightning? About 240,000 incidents regarding lightning strikes happen each year. Oh, it's higher than I thought. 240,000? So let me see. COVID deaths were at 170,000 in the United States, and we haven't had quite a year yet. It's going to be neck and neck. But that's not deaths, actually. That's just people who get struck by lightning. I think most people who get struck by lightning don't die, surprisingly enough. They actually, you know, often will have a lot of neurological issues afterwards, but a lot of people who get struck by lightning don't die. Lightning strikes each year on people, U.S. United States. Oh, okay. The United States averaged 51 annual lightning strike fatalities a year. So only 51 people a year die in the U.S. on average from lightning strikes, whereas COVID has killed over 170,000 people. Which, I don't know if you're good with the numbers, but that's more than 50. By a lot. If Hans gets banned, do we get rid of the Hans emote? No, because he'll still have like a BitChute account and stuff. And Hans has had many channels prior to this channel. He'll just come back with another channel. So it'll just be a game of continually finding his new channel and getting it banned. Ellie Trudgett, thanks for following.
And more people are just going, this is BS. And they're just continuing to put their foot in the pedal. Yeah, well, wait till you start trying to force this.
It's almost like your ridiculous conspiracy theories have absolutely no bearing on whether or not this virus continues to affect people. Hey, Honeybee, stop promoting the taking of chemicals, Hannah. We already have an oversupply of dihydrogen oxide in the population. I know, our bodies are like 70% that. It's crazy. And thanks for the bits. And then Thrash Mio with 30 bits. Imagine how much higher that'd be if people ran outside for lightning storms. Yup.
Down people's throat, or literally force it in people's arms. Because the people aren't going to stand for it. At least people like me aren't. If you got a problem with it, you come to my house, knock on the door, and hold the needle in your hand. And get ready for literally for some sweet chin music.
No, you'd probably just, again, not be able to go to stores and not be able to get certain tax rebates and government benefits. Which is reasonable, so deal with it.
That's what you'll get in return. And I'll take the needle. I'll put it in a place you probably want it anyway. Capiche?
I don't know how effective a vaccine in your butthole would be, but I'm not a doctor, so.
Unbelievable. USA Today. Unpatriotic if you refuse to take their poison. I want to thank you.
It's not poison. It's a vaccine.
There for listening to today's show. A reminder, please check out my website at callforuprising.com. $2.99 a month. Well worth it. Check it out. Interact with others. Share your information, your videos. And again, I want to thank you, the listeners here on YouTube, as well as those of you who support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. I appreciate you. Propaganda is just going to keep getting worse. Do your best to wake up people
with
around
300
you so they
bits,
can see that they're
homophobia
trying to
and
brainwash you.
anti-vax
Share
all in
videos
one
like the one I
video.
shared
Astounding.
on the CIA openly, talking about mind control operations and trying to persuade people. And this is what it's all about. It's just all about manipulation and mind control. And this is what they do. All this stuff that you're told is news, what you're told is factual, is not. It's there to manipulate people and herd them. It's scary that people buy into this stuff. Nothing more.
It's scary that idiots like you refuse to listen to doctors and instead decide to pretend that some secret organization like the Illuminati is trying to get you to get vaccinations for some untoward purpose, when really it's just to help you, you asshole. Jesus. I hope that you get a fine or something. I really, really do. Anyway.